The Couple Who Vanished into Nothing, Part 1. The Promise of Adventure. The wind blew cold against the massive walls of the Grand Canyon. It wasn't an ordinary wind. It was the kind of wind that carried stories. Ancient stories forgotten and sometimes dangerously unfinished. In October 1928, that place had already witnessed explorers, bold dreams and silent tragedies. But nothing, absolutely nothing, would prepare the world for the mystery that was about to be born. Studio microphone, the beginning of everything. They were young, newly married, full of life, full of plans. Glen Hyde and Bessie Hyde were not just an ordinary couple. They wanted to be remembered. Glen had a clear goal: to break the record for the fastest ascent of the Colorado River. But there was something even more daring about it. Bessie, his wife, was going with him. That alone was already extraordinary. At that time, very few women even took part in expeditions like that. But Bessie was not like the others. She wrote in her diary. She dreamed big, and she wanted more from life than just existing. She wanted to live something great, something eternal. Open book Bessie's diaries. Days before the trip, Bessie wrote, "This will be the greatest adventure of my life, and perhaps the most dangerous." Simple words, but today they feel like a warning, an omen, something no one noticed at the time. Person rowing boat, the journey begins. The boat was solid, well built, designed to face the violent waters of the Colorado River. Glen trusted it, and he trusted himself. They began the journey with excitement. Every bend in the river felt like an invitation, every current a challenge. The canyon walls rose like stone giants, watching every movement. Silent, still, as if they already knew what was going to happen. Waterway beauty and danger. During the first days, everything seemed perfect. The sky was clear. The water reflected deep shades of blue. And the echo, always the echo. Any sound, an oar in the water, a spoken word, came back multiplied. But there was something strange. Something Bessie began to notice. The silence between the sounds. A heavy silence, almost alive. Warning ignored signs. Some travelers encountered the couple along the way. They reported that they seemed fine, happy, but they also mentioned something curious. Bessie seemed tired, not physically, but emotionally, as if something was already wrong. Even before anything happened. Waxing crescent moon, the last time they were seen. The last sighting happened at the end of November 1928. They were moving along the river, calm, with no signs of trouble, no desperation, no hurry, just moving forward. And then, nothing. Hold the void. Days passed, then weeks, and no sign, no message, no clue. It was as if the canyon itself had swallowed the couple, without leaving a trace. Police Starlight, the beginning of the mystery. The searches began. Teams explored the region. They followed the river, examined banks, caves, trails, but they found nothing. Nothing except one thing. Anchor the boat. The boat was found, intact, undamaged, no signs of struggle, no blood, no evidence of disaster. It was there as if it had been carefully left behind. Snowflake the silence that screams. There were no bodies, no footprints, no explanation, only the boat and the emptiness. Directed end of part one. No signs of struggle, no trace of what happened, just silence. Part two, something wasn't right. The silence in the Grand Canyon is not just the absence of sound. It is a presence that watches, that waits, and that has kept secrets for thousands of years. And now it held one more. Studio microphone searches that led nowhere. When the boat was found, hope still existed. Maybe Glen and Bessie were alive. Maybe they had gone out to explore. Maybe they were waiting for rescue. But as the days passed, those possibilities began to die. Search teams combed everything. Riverbanks, hidden trails, deep caves, unstable rocks. Nothing. No bodies. No clothing. No trace. It was as if they had never been there. Puzzle piece what was found and what wasn't. The boat raised more questions than answers. Inside it, there were intact supplies, organized equipment, no signs of panic. But something was wrong, very wrong. If there had been an accident, the boat would be damaged. If there had been an attack, there would be signs of struggle. But there was nothing, no chaos, no urgency, just abandonment. Open book the diary that ends in silence. Bessie's writings help reconstruct the final days. She wrote frequently, describing the weather, the landscapes, her feelings. But then the diary simply stops. No farewell, no warning, no dramatic final page. Just silence, as if the story had been cut off in the middle of an invisible sentence. Warning an uneasy feeling. Reports from people who passed through the same area years later began to emerge. Some said they felt something hard to explain, a sense of being watched, a sudden unease, fear with no clear cause. Coincidence? Maybe, or maybe not. Magnifying glass tilted left the first theory, accident. The most logical explanation was simple. They fell into the river. The waters of the Colorado River are treacherous, strong, unpredictable, capable of swallowing anyone in seconds. But this theory had flaws. If it was an accident, where were the bodies? Where were the signs? And why was the boat intact? Dagger the second theory, murder. Then came something darker. What if they weren't alone? At that time, the Grand Canyon was already visited by explorers, adventurers, and people with unknown intentions. Some believe the couple may have encountered someone dangerous, a silent confrontation, no witnesses, no survivors. But again, there was no evidence, none. IA story that emerged years later. Decades later, a woman appeared. She claimed to be Bessie Hyde. She said she had survived, that Glen had died, and that she had started a new life. But there was a problem. There was no solid evidence, no reliable documents, no confirmation. Was it true, or just someone seeking attention? To this day, no one knows. New Moon, the mystery only grows. The more time passed, the fewer answers appeared, and more questions arose, like an incomplete puzzle, where every piece seemed to lead to another enigma. brain the feeling that remains. Perhaps the most terrifying part is not the disappearance, but the total absence of explanation. The fact that even with searches, investigations, and theories, nothing makes sense. Directed End of Part 2. Sometimes the most terrifying mysteries are the ones that leave nothing behind. Part 3. What the Canyon Hides. The Grand Canyon is not just a place. It is a labyrinth, a stone abyss where time seems not to exist, and where stories simply disappear. And some of them were never meant to be found. Studio microphone time passes, but the mystery doesn't. Years turn into decades, and still no definitive answer. No bodies, no evidence, nothing to close the story of Glen and Bessie Hyde. But the silence began to be filled with something else. Reports, strange, disturbing, eye-unsettling reports. Local guides, explorers, and visitors began to tell stories. They weren't identical, but they had something in common, a feeling. They spoke about unexplained noises at night, echoes that didn't seem natural, the sound of oars when no one was on the river. Some claimed to hear voices. Others swore they saw shadows near the water. Coincidence or something more? Waxing crescent moon, the cursed stretch. There was a specific point along the river where many of these reports were concentrated. A narrow stretch, surrounded by towering walls, where sunlight barely reaches. There, the silence felt heavier, denser, as if the air itself carried weight. Some began to avoid passing through that place. Others moved through it quickly, without looking back. Magnifying glass tilted left clues that were ignored. As time went on, investigators began to revisit the case, and something stood out. Small details, things that at the time seemed irrelevant, but maybe they weren't. For example, the boat was perfectly positioned. The supplies were not used in an emergency. There were no signs of a survival attempt. This raised an unsettling question. What if they didn't die there? Brain a new theory, intentional disappearance. Some began to consider something unexpected. What if it was all planned? What if Glen and Bessie chose to disappear, to start over, to vanish from the world? But this theory didn't fully hold either. They left behind family, dreams, records, a story they wanted to build. Disappearing didn't fit. Dagger a darker theory. And then came the most disturbing one of all. What if someone was watching them, waiting, following their every move, knowing exactly when to act? The canyon is vast, filled with natural hiding places, caves, crevices, areas where no one would set foot for years. If someone was there, no one would know. Receipt a chilling detail. Years later, a little-known report surfaced. A man claimed to have found signs of an improvised campsite in a remote area of the canyon. Nothing confirmed, nothing officially recorded, but enough to reignite doubt. Fogged the line between reality and legend. Over time, the story began to change, to grow, to take on almost supernatural elements. But at the center of it all, one fact remained. A couple, an intact boat, and a disappearance impossible to explain. Warning the mistake that may have cost everything. Some experts believe Glen may have underestimated the canyon, trusted too much in his own ability, ignored the warning signs, and led Bessie into a situation with no return. But that still doesn't explain the main question. Why are there no traces? New Moon the Canyon doesn't give back. There's a saying among explorers, what the Grand Canyon takes, it rarely returns. And maybe that's the only truth in this story. Directed end of part 3. Some places don't just hide secrets, they keep them. Part 4. A verdade que nunca voltu. O Grand Canyon continua lá. Inmenso, silencioso, indifferent. Como esse nada tivesse acontecido. Mas para quem conhece essa historia. Ele nunca mais foi apenas lugar. Ele esse torno a mistério vivo. Studio microphone a teoria mais acida. Depois de décadas, investigadores, historiadores e exploradores chegaram a uma conclusão neo-definitiva, mas mais plausível. A teoria mais acida hoje simples. Acidente silencioso e irreversible. Waterwave que pode ter acontecido. O Rio Colorado neo perdoa erros. Certos trecos, ele se transforma. Carenes invisíveis. Redemoinhos. Quedas bruscas. É possível que, em momento aparentemente calmo, tudo tenha mudado. O barco pode ter sido parado. Talvez eles tenham descido. Talvez tenham escorregado. Talvez uma carene tenha passado deles. E o outro tento salvar. E então, o rio levou ambos. Sem testemunhas. Sem chance de retorno. Exclamation mark, mas ainda há problema. Mesmo essa teoria neo-explica tudo. Porque o barco esteve intacto e posicionado de forma quase perfeita. Isso sugira algo diferente, algo mais estranho. Brain uma possibilidade mais realista e assustadora. Alguns especialistas acreditam em cenário mais detalhado. Glen pode ter decidido parar o barco em plano específico. Talvez para explorar, talvez para descansar, talvez por confiança demais. Eles sabem, deixarão tudo organizado, sem pressa, sem medo, e foi aí que algo aconteceu, uma queda, deslize, erro de segundos, no Grand Canyon. Segundos são suficientes. Whole porque nunca foram encontrados? Essa é a parte mais dura da verdade. O canyon neo é apenas profundo, e ele é complexo, irregular, caiu de fendas invisíveis, áreas inacessíveis, e o rio pode carregar corpos por quilômetros. Ou prende-los para sempre em lugares onde ninguém jamais pisaria. Aí é mulher que dizer Bessie, a história de mulher que apareceu anos depois, dizendo ser Bessie, ainda intriga muitos, mas a maioria dos pesquisadores acredita que foi apenas coincidência, ou imaginável, ou alguém tentando preencher o vazio dessa história. Porque nenhuma prova concreta jamais confirmou isso. Fago que realmente resta. No FIM, neo havaleo. neo ha conspiraco comprovata, neo ha resposta definitiva, apenas possibilidades, e silencio, brain o verdadeiro impacto. Essa historia susta por a motivo simples. Ela poderia conhecer com qualquer pessoa. Neo ha expliqueo clara. Neo ha momento exato. Neo ha aviso definitivo. Apenas erro. Instant. E tudo acaba. Numo no legado do misterio. Hoje, o caso de Glen e Bessie Hyde ainda é cantado. Neo apenas como desaparecimento, mas como lembrete de que existem lugares no mundo que neo podem ser totalmente compreendidos. Directed final impacting. No signs of struggle, no trace of what happened, just silence